Do you like my new glasses?
They're the same.
They're the same
But
exact
they're
ones.
new.
Yeah, and they're new, and I can see more things. We were driving back from going to the zoo. No, it was Casa Bonita because it was the sun was almost down, and I was squinting forward, and I realized that what I thought was three taillights in the car, three taillights aside, was in fact one, and that wasn't good.
Is that still the case?
No, no, not anymore. But I haven't driven at night though,
Oh.
so who knows? Well, we just got over Thanksgiving. For those non-Americans, you eat a lot of turkey. You might have heard about it, but yesterday, so the day I wasn't working, and just on a whim, I don't know. I was talking to Sadie, and I mentioned that I was sure that we probably had people on the Mayflower, the first ship to come over into Massachusetts. But I'd never actually really looked into it. I'd never found that connection. I was just kind of joking about it. And so I fired up Ancestry and just started searching, against the tree names in my trees. And I didn't think one way or the other.
I figured you would. I'm not surprised.
Because I was going through it clicking and it was like, no, I went through like 25 names and they were all no's. And then I came up with, all of a sudden I got a hit and I went to that person's page on my Ancestry, but I hadn't filled their tree backwards yet. So I didn't know it was possible. And then I went and looked, and as I brought in the other stuff from other people's trees and stuff, it was in fact the same guy, Doty, Dotyi. Geez, what? I don't even remember his first name. Is it Richard? Robert? In any case, so I had to laugh. I'm like, here we are in Thanksgiving, all about the Pilgrims and the Native Americans and all that kind of stuff, and there we are. We're on the Mayflower. The guy Doty, he's a signatory on the Mayflower Compact. Isn't that cool? Let's see. What is this dude's name? What is the list of? No. I was also. Oh, these are Kings of Kent. Why am I looking at that? Kings of Kent. Faith Clark, Edward Doty. Edward Doty. And so, what's cool about it, really, more than the like American history stuff, is the fact that the guy actually left a pretty big like cultural footprint in terms of we know what kind of person he was, and he was a raging dick. He was a servant, one of two servants of this guy Hopkins. They weren't religious pilgrim people. They came over for opportunities in the New World, and the two servants, one of which was Doty, they must have hated each other or something. I mean, they got into a duel. It's the first duel in United States history. I couldn't believe it. They fought with a sword and a knife. They were both wounded, and their punishment was that they were chained together head and feet for 24 hours with no food or drink. But I guess their master decided that they'd learned their lesson, and he appealed to the governor, and they got let out. This is a year after the ship landed at Plymouth. It's just funny. I never knew, but he was also he was sued repeatedly. His business dealings bordered on the fraudulent. He got into numerous recorded domestic disputes with his in-laws. He was constantly being hauled into court over this, that, or the other thing, but they never kicked him out of the colony, and he got to live there all of his life, and he ended up pretty wealthy. He got a fair amount of land over the years, and he was a raging dick. So there you go, a little bit of American history on our American holiday. Do you want to talk about watches?
Okay.
Or was there something else you wanted to do?
No, I don't know. We can do wrist check.
Okay, let's do wrist check. Okay, time for wrist check. She's got a great choice. It's essentially the same exact movement that is in a Paul Newman Daytona. I'm trying to forget, is it Value 22 or 72? I forget right off the top of my head. This was worked on. I bought this from a Rolex tech who lives in Texas after he serviced it. And it's really a sweet, sweet, sweet watch. I'm so glad to see you wearing it. I wish I could put the whole thing in a truly sealed case. This is the one that's like dust proof, but it's not even that. I'd love to be able to get this into a sealed case, and I'd do it in a second if I could. And I am wearing This baby, my slide rule, it's all original. Even the cursor ring is original. See that blue tint it's got? That's original. This is a really cool watch. It would have to be as big as a dinner plate for me to be able to use the slide rule. I can barely. I can.
You don't even know how to use a slide rule.
Yeah, I know it's true. My dad had to take a first-year class just on using a slide rule when he got to college.
I know.
You do? What did Dad tell you about that?
Yes.
Many times?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, but one thing I do when it comes to the ancestry stuff, sorry, for everybody who lived through the beginning of that and was like, thank God I'm not going to have to hear any more about that. I remembered. So one of the things I like to do when I find interesting ancestors, look at where they come from and look at their village or whatever the heck it is. He was from a town in Lincolnshire called Lough, Lough, Lough. I don't know how it's pronounced. I should have looked it up. Anyway, but it looks like a nice little town. Looks like a nice little place. I'm sure the town was much happier to see the back.
That guy.
Yeah, thank God he's gone. Hope he doesn't come back anytime soon. Okay, now I swear we'll talk watches.
Mail call. Saul Brook.
Hi.
Sweet potato pie. End of discussion. No, I don't like it.
Is it like
It's
sweet?
the marshmallow thing.
What, like big load thing? It's like a squash pie.
Yeah, but I don't like it. I've had it
I
once.
like pumpkin pie.
No, but it's that casserole thing, isn't it?
Sweet potato. I have no idea.
Is it the thing with marshmallows?
Well, if it's from the South and it has sweet in it, I mean, everything's sweet down there. So imagine how sweet it has to be if they're going to call it sweet. I can't remember the last time I had one, actually. Jeez. You just don't have them.
No.
We had two kinds of pie. We had cherry pie and chocolate pie. Mm-hmm. Chocolate pie was made by Dolly.
Mm-hmm. I cannot believe you name check me over a legit complaint of a massive design fail from Seiko.
I just, we have the human brain, the thing that sets us apart, it's sort of higher vertebrate thing, is we have in our brains, and a huge amount of the gray matter, I believe, has taken up with doing predictions, basically thousands of predictions every single second. And so that's how you build up sort of knowing somebody, is that you know them well enough that you can predict the things that they're going to do. Looking at that watch, I predicted what Saul Brook would think, say, and do about that watch.
Talking time horology. A real head scratcher of a question for mail call. Is it at all possible to relume flat printed dial lume and have it turn out well? For example, a Seiko 7548 or 7002, both divers, and how would it be done?
I've never been able to do it well. It always looks bad. I'm
sure it looks bad.
Oh, no, they don't look good.
Well, is it compared to other people or compared to what it's supposed to look like?
Oh, well, okay. So talking about Jack at IWW, Jack International Watch Works, he's done a lot of relume work. He can do a really nice job on a flat dial. So let's back up. So these dials, earlier dials had like high markers that were on the dial, things that stood like tall away from it. The 6309 diver dials were flat, only with printing on them. And the lume sections were screen printed on. So like if you look at a picture of a dial, you can actually see the little screen printing hash mark on there. I've tried to relume them, and it just, every time they just look blobby and weird, and I can't get the lume to be smooth enough. Jack does a really good job, but even in his case, he is getting a bit of a bow on it rather than it was a thick lume mixture that was screen printed, so it's completely slab solid, one side of the other. All of these little squishy things, like you're frosting a cake. And Jack can't replicate those. I've often thought in the past, what if I made a really, really, really thinned out bright white lume and basically painted over the existing flat printing? I haven't thought about trying that in a long time. I don't know how it would deal with the color, because then you're going to get weird pockets of green stuff. I don't know. I just haven't thought about it, but maybe I'll put it on my list of things to sort of poke at.
Joseph Stewart, hey there, you beautiful people.
Oh, well, gosh, thanks.
Sorry, it's been a while. I haven't asked a mail call question in months, which is weird for me. But I have been watching. I never miss a mail call.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope it's worth the investment in time.
Question for this week. How careful do I need to be with my 6105 crown? I'm mainly referring to the little spike that protrudes out of the case between the crown guards that helps lock the crown in place. Can they break off easily? I just got mine back from Adrian at Vintage Time Australia, and it's gorgeous. That man is a magician. Lots of love from a stinking hot Australia.
Stinking hot Australia.
I'm under my electric blanket again.
Yeah, it's chilly. We finished making Thanksgiving dinner last night, because Sadie and I make all over the Thanksgiving dinner. And so I've been in this hot kitchen, fighting a turkey. And I walk out on the deck, and it has that nice bracing snap of the air. You don't really have to protect those very much. Where they start showing problems is because the crown is turned a lot against the pin, and the pin and or the crown bottom edge where they link together starts to wear away, and they don't engage as well. And if the crown doesn't sit flat all the way up against the case, if it's back a little bit with some looseness, you're going to start to feel some skipping. But it takes a lot of work to do that. There's no way that you can break it. You simply can't. I've seen them come loose a couple times. More often, when they're really damaged, they're just like worn away to almost nothing, and you have to like dimple it and be able to basically with a Dremel get hollow out where the pin had been, and I have to put in a new section of pin in there and then solder it in place, and that's a lot of work, but it fixes the problem.
K-Rolla 1023. With regard to Grand Seiko Spring Drive, I have an SBGE255 GMT, and it's a beautiful timepiece. The casework, Zeratsu finish, dialed, diamond, polished, indices, etc. are flawless. The 9R66 movement is good to a second or two a month. Yeah,
I mean, Seiko's casework has always been excellent. It's like one of the things about Seiko is how great their casework is. The solid jobs they do, not just with the design and the execution, but the finishing polish on it. There's just no way to beat it. I'll always give that laurel to Seiko every single time. I'd really, if I ran across a spring drive and it was reasonable, I'd be very interested in looking at it. I like the aspect that it's mechanical, the idea that it has this spinning weight, this flywheel, essentially, and that it's with electrical braking to govern the rate, loss, and gain. It's a really neat piece of technology, and I bet you I would look at it a lot if it were on my wrist. I just don't know that I'm looking to make that kind of an investment in a spring drive.
Tactical Truth 8118. Another excellent mail call.
Thank you.
You know what we need next? That's right, State of the Collection videos for both of you, starting with Sabrina's watches. We get to see some of Sabrina's watches during wrist check, but it would be nice to see her entire collection. Then, what changes are you making, Spencer, to your collection? Thank you.
Well, that's something we can make a separate segment, if you're willing to do that.
Yeah, at some point.
Oh, you mean? Well, I was hoping that we could slot in a thing right now.
Oh, okay.
So after the end of making this video, we would go to the watch bench, take your watch box, put it on a thing, and you just talk about each watch.
I need to find my feather duster.
Okay, she needs to look for the feather duster. So anyway, we started looking at houses in Low or Law or Laug or however you pronounce the town. There's one house there that's nice. It's the least expensive one, 400,000 pounds. It's got a nice airy looking attic that's been converted into an office space. It's got 4 big bedrooms. The only thing strike against it is that it doesn't have a garage. It has a gravel drive but no garage, which means Green Bean would be very sad. And
Green Bean would be in her natural environment.
Yeah. I don't know how she'd feel about that. You know, she is an American girl, though born over there. Okay. Well, anyway.
Are Seikos underpowered by design? Weekend watch repair. Hey Spencer, I really enjoyed hearing your thoughts on this potential replacement mainspring.
Thank you.
I've got one coming in and intend on using it to test on a 6139B. That being said, I believe you to be far more qualified than I to make a determination on whether or not it is suitable. I don't know if it's possible, but I'd be happy to send you a spring to test if you would like. If not, I'm happy to give it my best effort, but I would really appreciate to hear your thoughts after having tried one of these thicker Swiss alternative springs. I follow you on Instagram.
Thank you.
Please feel free to message me, and I'll be happy to send you one of these thicker Swiss springs to you for testing. No charge. Of course, I'm happy to donate a mainspring towards this experiment.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate it. And we did message on Instagram, and I'll take you up on that offer. My hope is that we all try it. You know, everybody who's ripping apart 6000 series watches, try it if they have the ability, and see if they get a different result. The key would be, if you really want to go through the work, is fully service, use the original mainspring, and then build a second barrel with the new replacement mainspring. For a second, I thought we weren't recording. Build a second barrel, and then basically, to minimize any kind of changes, then swap out the entire barrel, changing nothing else, and see what happens to the amplitude. And then, so that's the process. That's kind of what needs to happen. And now we would need as many data points as possible from as many people as possible. So, if we can get that mainspring into people's hands, we should all start endeavoring to try it out and see.
Biff Tannen BTTF. What's the highest amplitude you've seen from a 6139 after a winding spike? I just pulled 295 from mine after just servicing it. Is that about the peak you think? Stock mainspring, by the way.
Yeah. The only time I remember seeing a fresh rebuild, and it was cruising over 300, but there was something that was, I don't remember how that happened or why that happened, but it made me nervous, because it was like it should not have been running that hot. And the watch, it had that movement, gave all kinds of weird positional problems as well. There was something wrong with that movement. I wish we remembered more about that situation. Usually, I mean, if I really push it, like if you're going to really do the winding spike, yeah, you can 280s, 270s, more like. Anytime I start seeing above like 260s, I start getting nervous again, thinking about that over 300 movement, hoping that something's not wrong. I'm a lot more comfortable with 240s. That's a good number, I think.
Okay.
220s, 240s, up to 250.
Robert Flanders 1158. So how did changing the mainspring affect the amplitude? I was hoping for a follow-up video.
There's going to be a follow-up video. Need to get a mainspring in, and I will do the test. I will pick a movement. I'll pick out a 6000 series diver, probably, that needs servicing. Or should I do a chronograph? Whatever. I will do. Well, that's the thing, because the 6139s, the chronograph mainsprings, are a little heavier duty than the non-chronograph mainsprings. So what should I be looking for? I mostly work on chronographs, so I guess I will do a 6139 or a 6138. With the new mainspring, I will build the movement completely. I'll look at the numbers, and then I'll swap it out, build another whole barrel with the other mainspring, and then we'll see how it goes.
Andy Hansen 3117. Have a quick question on mainsprings. I was working on a Seiko 7009A and ordered a mainspring off of eBay, and the terminal curve was too small for the arbor. Finally broke it and ordered some more from another site on eBay, and it seems I got the same size. I looked up the part number on the RANFFT site. Ranft. So I was wondering where I should be getting the springs that would actually fit. Thanks, and I really enjoy watching Mail Call.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you for enjoying watching Mail Call. I looked up that Seiko never sold that mainspring separately. They always sold them as complete barrels, and they were 201120, I think, was
Steam went on my glasses.
was it's yeah, it's 201120, if I believe is the part number. And it's the barrel complete. All the 7000 series were sold that way. So I don't really have a good answer for you for that, for what to look for. If anybody knows, I know we've talked about it, of a potential replacement for that particular spring, the 7000 series spring, please comment down below or message me or something and let me know. And then, because that's useful information to have.
Bridge Exile, really interested in the mainspring discussion. Question, would this stress the movement? Would you jewel the upper and lower arbor brushings?
Yeah, well, you definitely are going to want to jewel those upper and lowers because they already get eaten away just with regular pressure. So you want to put those jewels in there. I personally believe it's definitely going to increase. You're increasing power. You're pushing harder power through the train. You're going to get more wear because you're going to get that shearing action as it's trying to push the gear sideways. It's pushing it away as the gears are working, and so you're going to get you're going to get increased friction, and which means more wear. It's a trade-off. I mean, do you want the amplitude or do you want the longevity? I mean, having really high-powered movements makes me kind of nervous, just because I know that some movements like the Seiko 6200 series movements, they're really gentle and they're really calm and they're not high powered and they've got a big balance and it beats a really gentle 18,000 BPH, and they're capable of amazing accuracy when they're serviced properly. They're great movements. And I like wearing them too because the trains are simply just not being pushed that hard. Which makes them nice. It's one of the reasons I really like the 62 MAS.
CJT56. Great idea on getting your own source for the jewels. Somewhat related, what do you think about the same for the 7016? I've seen you do quite a few of them, and while looking for replacement mainsprings, it seems the only real listed replacements include the complete barrel. Are the 7X series perhaps the same situation? I'd love to get a better mainspring option for the 7016 I'm in the middle of.
Yeah, they use the same mainspring as far as I know. They're pretty lightly built, and so they don't require a ton of power like a 6000 series to run. They are, I mean, and this is evidenced by the fact that I rarely have to jewel the lower mainspring arbor in a 7000 series. You can do it. It's the same jewel. It's the same piece, same process. It's a little more finicky because the bottom of the barrel has this big angled cone section, which is inset into the main plate, and it makes getting the arbor machined out properly a little dicey. But it absolutely can be done. It's maybe something I should think about offering more. I don't know. I usually talk to owners about doing things that should be done, that need to be done, rather than optional upgrades. Maybe I should start asking them if they want it.
Overdue review, the Lejour 7500 Poor Man's Hoyer. Philip Stephen something. Spencer, you said your PVD or dark-colored Lejour had a relatively hard life. I am always intrigued as to where and what a watch used to be used for. Could you give me a quick where and what for that watch? And do you have any Lejour watches located that are in rough shape? I love the look of your Lejour watches.
I don't have any location for another Lejour like that. I mean, you look at them online, the black ones, and they tend to be a little more beat. But I swear that there's two different. I really am very not far into this knowledge circle at all, but I seem to recall that they were done in two different kinds of PVD. Mine is not like it looks like PVD. It looks like this kind of thickish paint almost. It's a coating, like a real coating, and it wears badly. It really shows wear pretty quickly. It wasn't a great solution, but mine doesn't have that coating. The metal itself it's almost like a case bluing or a parkerization or some kind of, somebody told me whatever the finish was, and it's a very thin layer, and so it shows wear on all the high points and everything else like that. But I don't have any history on the watch. It came in as part of a trade. It had been serviced, I think, like 3 times. It had some dial damage. Many of the markers are missing. The movement was loose in the case. It wasn't screwed into place. But everything was there. It was intact. It was a runner. I didn't have to replace a single part. For as worked over as that watch looked, I didn't have to replace any parts. I just serviced it, and it cruises beautifully in like the 300 range, like 300 to 320. But it's magnificently accurate. It's such a good watch, but I don't have any history on it.
4SS Seiko 6105 8000, Vietnam Seiko Restoration, Tactical Truth 8118. Very interesting experiment. Do you think that Seiko did not originally put in a thicker mainspring because it would cause extra stress on the other parts and cause them to wear out faster?
If I had to guess, is they did it to increase power reserve, because then you can have a longer spring. But that's only my opinion. That is my guess. Seiko is, everything I've seen, Seiko really pays attention to, nickel and diming it. If they can save a couple pennies for whatever reason, they'll go ahead and do it. So what you got?
One more. Green Bean, Bruce Barlow. Green Bean needs triple carbs and a 3-inch exhaust that will get the back wheel spinning. It's
true. I realized I have to go back into Green Bean. I've been making a point of driving her, and it's fun. I'm enjoying driving her around. I was rightfully shamed by someone I emailing with somebody who commented that it was a shame that she was dusty. So I de-dusted her, and I've been driving her around. I've got her set way too lean, like super, super lean. I'm having to run with the partial choke out to keep going. The carbs on this, I fully rebuilt them, but the butterflies are the weird kind that have like a little hole in them that's kept blocked by a little plate with a spring, and I guess they can cause problems with running lean. So I want to actually, at some point, I'm going to, man up. And I'm going to pull those carbs, and I'm going to look at them again and see if there's something else like that I can do to sort of, eliminate any potential air leaks or anything else like that. And it's going to include deleting those things. I'll just replace the butterfly slides and put new split screws in and have it done from there, because that's why she was dying. You remember we went for that one drive? It died like 4 times driving out. It just couldn't keep it going.
Well, you said it didn't warm up.
It didn't really warm up, but also I'm running it too lean. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that, I guess, my friends, is mail call.
That's it.
A Thanksgiving edition Turkey Day mail call.
Post-Turkey Day.
Post-Turkey Day mail call with a descendant from the most ornery person ever to sail aboard the Mayflower. Oh, apparently the wood of the Mayflower, the actual ship itself, still exists. The ship was only hired, and it sailed back to England, and it continued, carrying cargo hither and thither. But then at a certain point, it was sold to be broken up, and some farmer bought a bunch of the timbers and built a barn, and it still exists. So I think that's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. If ever we get over there, mm-hmm. We'll go see the Mayflower barn. Although it's on private property now, so you can't get there.
Oh.
Well, that sucks. All right, folks, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.